All right, Professor Wallacord, I can't believe this is about the end, my final presentation on the federal agency. But before I get into it, I do want to say I saw your comment about my Portland hat. Just to clear it up, I'm not a Portland fan either. My grandparents are from Portland on my dad's side. Sent me that. Uh, they're big Trailblazers fans, so they sent me that hat. So I saw it on the ground, decided to just throw it on and wear it for the video. But I just thought that comment was funny just to clear it up. And just to also say that it actually brings into what I'm going to be talking about today. My dad's side, my grandparents, I'll give examples on why that it makes sense with my federal agency. So I decided to, instead of making slides and kind of talking over it, I don't really care to have something in front of me that I can just like read off of and it's not my own thoughts, not feelings, but thoughts, as you say, about everything. So my federal agency I chose was about the U.S. Customs and Border Control, or U.S. Customs and Border Protection, I should say, is what it's officially called. And the reason I did it on that is because my last name being Martinez, I have some Mexican blood in me, and it actually came from obviously my dad's side, with my last name being Martinez. And his grandparents, so my great grandparents, actually came over from Mexico legally back in the old days. And my grandpa grew up a picker in the fields in Santa Maria, California, because that's what they had to do to earn their living. But instead of coming over illegally, which is what we see a lot today, and a lot of people uh, in our society being okay with it, and I just don't really care for that. So I think this is a subject that I could easily talk a while about because it has so much to do with my family history as well as what's right and what's wrong, what's ethical, what's not, um, and what people are trying to do and what society's trying to change today. Even with the coronavirus, we have a bunch of people like the governor of California saying, "Oh well, the illegal people should get paid too," and that it kind of hits me a little bit more so than most people possibly because I mean I've kind of lived through listening to my grandpa and him being a picker in the fields. He would literally do it from 6 a.m., probably earlier than that, 5 a.m. until school started. Had to walk or run 30 minutes to school every day. Went to school, did all this stuff, had to come back, do homework, had to pick until dinner, ate dinner, had to pick until like 9 p.m., and then it's all over again. So I did this U.S. Customs and Border Control or Border Protection because, like I said, it has so much with my family history and uh, it's a lot about how we talk about in class, like earning your living. And my dad, who's done a great job, really came from nothing with what his grandpa was doing. And so I think seeing a lot of the illegal people that come in today just kind of hurts my family a bit, and maybe a lot of people. It took them 6 years to come over legally. So I just think something I should keep talking about. I know I like to talk a lot. I'll keep it between 10 to 12 minutes, but just a little background information. So this is about the Border Patrol history. So since its inception in 1924, the U.S. Border Patrol has had a proud history of service to our nation. Although enormous changes have affected nearly every aspect of its operations from its earliest days, the basic values that helped shape the patrol in early years, professionalism, honor, integrity, respect for human life, and a shared effort, and that's all remained today. So the patrol agency, a lot of people get mad that we want to block our borders, and which I find it funny because you can't win today. Like even our president, I don't care who's in office, but you have to respect the higher powers. So we have a lot of people, the media especially, saying, "Well, why are you blocking our borders? That's racist." And then once the coronavirus pandemic came into play, he did block the borders, but he didn't do it fast enough, they said. So it's like you can't win. Which one is it? Do you want to be racist or do you want to not allow this corona pandemic to get in here and kill thousands of lives? So I think a little bit of history, just the fact that it's built upon professionalism, honor, integrity, respect for human life. I mean, it is a respect thing. Protecting our borders. This is the United States. So in order for people to come in here, they need to come here legally. So that's why you have customs too. Like when we enter other countries as well, We have to have our passport. We have to go through a screening. We have to everything. So it's just not fair. So for people to just think it's okay for illegals to come in, because it's everywhere for American people as well. And I respect the people that want to come over to get a better life, and they deserve it. They should. At the same time, just do it in a legal fashion. So I think that's where I'm passionate about, is because, like I said, it's my family history. So why wouldn't I be? So in the origins of the Border Patrol, mounted watchmen of the U.S. Immigration Service patrolled the border in an effort to prevent illegal crossings as early as 1904. But their efforts were irregular and undertaken only when resources permitted. So inspectors, usually called the mounted guards, operated out of El Paso, Texas. Though they have never totaled more than 75, they patrolled as far west as California, trying to restrict the flow of illegal Chinese immigration. And that's a lot of what we're going through in our modern times as well. So I mean, not only is this a good subject on a federal agency, but it also has a lot to do with now as well as the history of it. So I think it relates well, and that's why another reason why I chose it. So it all kind of started with customs violations and intercepting communications to the enemy, quote unquote, seemed to be a greater concern than enforcing immigration regulations in the early years of the 20th century. So agencies charged with inspecting people and goods entering and leaving the U.S. noticed that their efforts were totally ineffective without border enforcement between inspection stations. After 1917, a higher head tax and literacy requirement imposed for entry prompted more people to try to enter illegally. So I know you travel a lot as well, Professor Walcourt, so you kind of go through it. But even now, like, say I just want to go on a trip to Hawaii, a family vacation, and it's a big thing with agriculture as well. You have to put your bag through a security system because they don't want you bringing in that agriculture from the Hawaiian lands because that's their sacred thing. So just use that as an analogy of people as well. Like, this is our sacred land. We need to protect it with what we have. So don't just try to like sneak the goods over. So that's kind of my thought process with Hawaii as well. So with pro, prohibition, prohibition. Yeah, I'm not very good at that word. So prohibition and border control. So the 18th Amendment to the United States Constitution, prohibiting the importation, transport, manufacture, or sale of alcoholic beverages went into effect midnight, January 16, 1920. So with the passage of this constitutional amendment and the numerical limits placed on immigration to the United States by the Immigration Acts of 1921 and 1924, border enforcement received renewed attention from the government. So the numerical illustrations or limitations resulted in people from around the world to try to illegally enter if attempts to enter legally failed. Therefore, the mission of the Border Patrol became more important to the U.S. government. And so that's a lot of the background of what I want to say. It also goes through the war years, Border Patrol and role expansions, today's Border Control, which I'll actually talk about. So this was, I think, was it 1980s? Yeah, 1980s, 1990s saw a tremendous increase of illegal migration to America. The Border Patrol responded with increases in manpower and the implementation of modern technology. So, infrared night vision scopes, seismic sensors, and a modern computer processing system helped the patrol locate, apprehend, and process those crossing into the U.S. illegally. So it all kind of went into a hold the line sort of situation they did with people trying to enter illegally, and I could get into it more. So just that's a lot of the background of it, and I wanted to mention all that. I'm already at 9.5 minutes, because that's just the biggest part about it. And even today, they have so much more to make sure that people don't just come over illegally, like the night vision, the seismic sponsors, just all that. So they've made, I mean, the technological advancements we've gone through in the United States obviously has helped that a lot, helped that case a lot. So I think that's a big part of it. So I thought this was cool. I looked up a mission statement for the Border Patrol because that's a huge part of anything you do, even business today. Being in a business law class here, that mission statements are huge. So this was kind of the mission statement of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So why it exists: to safeguard America's borders, thereby protecting the public from dangerous people and materials while enhancing the nation's global economic competitiveness by enabling legitimate trade and travel. And I think the key word there is legitimate. Legitimate travel, legitimate trade. So, in a vision statement, what the federal agency aspires to become. So, it aspires to serve as the premier law enforcement agency, enhancing the nation's safety, security, and prosperity through collaboration, innovation, and integration. So, in terms of ethos, so our shared identity, beliefs, and aspirations is that we are the guardians of the nation's border. We are Americans' frontline, and we, as in the patrol. So, lastly, just the core values is vigilance is how we ensure the safety of all Americans, and service to country is embodied in the work we do as in the patrol, and integrity is our cornerstone. So I just thought that was really cool, like giving you the background, giving you my own personal history, giving you my thoughts, not feelings, and giving you some of the mission statement, vision statement about the federal agency itself. So I didn't want to use slides because I'd rather just go through my own thoughts and background information that I retrieved either online or by reading and by my own family history as well. So I'm at 11:50. I know I got 10 seconds. Thank you, Professor Wallicourt. If this is my last video for everything, and I hope I do get to see you again soon.